Film stunts go way back to the silent film era over a century ago. As back then, as working conditions weren't as good as nowadays, human life was considered expensive. Stunts weren't performed by professional stunt people. Occasionally, they were performed by people who used to work in a circus or did rodeo shows or were pilots. But most of the time, inexperienced people were used as they were considered expensible. As well, they were cheap as well. And the risk, well, was just part of their job. It wasn't unusual for an actor, male or female, to do their own stunts in the beginning of the silent film era. Many actors did their own stunts. I'm thinking of actors like Helen Gibson, Mary Fuller, Grace Cunard, Pearl White, Harold Lloyd, and Buster Keaton. Well, they often did their own stunts. Yes, I know Pearl White also used a stunt double, but early in her career, she did her own stunts. So how come film production companies use stunt people nowadays? And believe me, this change didn't come easy. And what can we learn as non-stunt people from this change? This is Obscure Book Adventures. I am your host, Annie. Welcome to the world of stunting in the cinema. As it is a Filmtastic February, a film fiction and film non-fiction reading event, I am hosting with Roy and Duncan. Links to their channel in the description box below. I've read this non-fiction book because this week's prompt is read non-fiction about people who work in the film industry. And I've read Stunting in the Cinema by Arthur Wise and Derek Ware. Now, I must admit, I didn't read all of the book. Well, it's not really a chunky book, so I could have read it all the way. I had time. But I must admit, I found it to be too detailed. I found it not so much of value to me. It can be, if you are really interested in really specific details of how stunts were performed back in the early days of film, during the silent film era, this can be really interesting. But for me personally, I don't really need to know how horse stunts were done. There are illustrations in it which show, for example, how a horse is being tripped with wires on the horse's leg, and well, they just pull the legs from under the horse, and it's detailedly described how a horse is being tricked into jumping off a high cliff. And these techniques, well, it's just animal cruelty, and I am definitely not for that. Well, I'm trying to find, well, here's a detailed illustration of how they did this. And personally, this is too much information. There are other chapters in it as well, which are highly detailed. There are photographs in it, which indeed can be really interesting. And But, well, if you want to be a stunt woman or a stunt man, then, well, this could be an interesting read for you. At some point in the early cinema, in the silent film era, production companies realized that it was better for the stars to have a stunt double. And this was absolutely not because they were concerned for their health and safety. Believe me, it had all to do with the money. Because when a star of one of their productions was injured, well, they couldn't work. Production of the film came to a halt, and, well, that cost money. So what did they do? They didn't have any problem in hiring a nobody who took the same risks, who had to take the same risks. And they had no problem in picking out a random nobody from the unemployment line who did the stunts. But these stunt people, well, they were nobodies, but they weren't stupid. And they prepared their stunts as much in advance as they could, and they practiced to keep them, to prevent them from being injured. So gradually, the professional stuntman, as it was called back then, anyway, stunt people who did this for a living, were born, as it were. Most of us never get ourselves in the risky position these stunt people are getting themselves into. So what is the use of reading about stunt people in early cinema? Well, I agree with you. I hope to never get in the same situations as these stunt people find themselves into. But I did learn something from whilst reading Stunting in the cinema. And that is, change doesn't come easy. Well, this is probably obvious to everybody, but we really have to realize. So what I come to the conclusion that with a little effort and sticking up for one another, we can make changes. We can make our lives better. Like in the film industry, health and safety regulations, they didn't come with the birth of new technology. People needed to make an effort to improve working conditions themselves. Nowadays, we have the birth of AI. That's also a new technology, which can make our lives much worse if we're not careful and if we let big corporations or governments with bad intentions do what they want with it. But it can also make our lives better. I am thinking of AI using AI to help grow crops. AI can be implemented in determining when a plant needs water, how much water, what kind of soil, maybe what kind of light, if artificial light is being used. So you can effectively grow crops in areas. I'm thinking of areas that have dry soil or a desert kind of landscape. You can grow crops even when nature doesn't allow it. Now you can say, yes, but we can already do this with technology we have nowadays. But maybe in the future we can use AI to help grow crops without using pesticides. Well, now that's something I am really interested in. Well, I know I'm not a farmer, but I think no farmer is against growing crops safely and harvesting great crops. Anyway, I think another thing I read somewhere that AI is better at making medical diagnosis, which to me makes sense, as well, doctors are humans and patients are humans, and we have our personal experiences and we have our biases. Doctors and patients, and doctors, the best doctor doesn't know all of the disease symptoms of all of the diseases. I think so, as an AI can be trained to know all of the rare diseases as well, and isn't influenced by the experiences and biases of a doctor, or the emotional interaction a doctor has with a patient. For example, a doctor, when he or she sees a patient very frequently, and this patient comes again and again with symptoms that can't be explained. The doctor can think, well, this is a hypochondriac, and imagines being ill. Well, AI, doesn't have that. It can eliminate all of the things that it is not and come to a conclusion. So, and I think AI can do it cheaper, as it can be done at a press of a button, so it can be more efficient as well. Out here in the Netherlands, doctors have high working pressure, as they have a lot of patients, and they can have to treat and have to diagnose a lot of patients. So there is on doctors a lot of work pressure. It can relieve the work pressure of the doctors as well. But I think we have to be aware of the dangers of this as well. We definitely don't want this AI run by insurance companies, as they can exclude ill people from their insurances if they have the data about these patients, and we definitely don't want governments with bad intentions controlling this AI as well. So we have to be careful. I'm just saying, like in the early film industry, the silent film era, where new technology doesn't bring automatically good stuff. We need to tweak, as it were, the new technology to what we want to make our lives better. We need to bend it to suit us, and of course not money grabbing companies and governments with bad intentions. But not all is bad, and yeah. But back to the silent film era and decades after sticking up for each other. Well, it helped. Not only for stunt people, by the way. Unions were formed in about every branch where working conditions were bad, as it were. I think we now live in an era where divide and conquer rules. We are told the other is to blame. Get rid of the other and your problems are being solved. Well, guess what? They aren't. And we need to tell our government and our big corporations what we really want. For example, tell the YouTube algorithm you don't want all these angering videos that upset you and are not informative. They are just made to make you angry because that keeps you on the platform and YouTube can earn more money from it. And you need to tell the YouTube algorithm you don't want these videos. Stop clicking on those thumbnails that make you angry. Now, I know I use a little bit of clickbait myself in my thumbnails, but I'm trying to not to annoy you too much with this. But I'm human. I like to grow my channel, and that's how it works now. And I like to give people the opportunity to see my videos and see their. I want people to know that there is nuance in every story, and read books. I want people to read more books, entertaining books as well. They don't have to be heavy dramas or anything, but. Yeah, and all I'm saying is if you tell the algorithm what you want, it will adjust itself. And this doesn't take months for the algorithm to adjust itself. No, I don't know how long it takes, but it is absolutely, I did this, and for me, it took less time than I had expected. And if you don't like a big company, don't buy from them. It's easier said than done, I know. But there are always alternatives. You don't have to buy from Amazon. Amazon makes it really, really easy to leave them. Really, they are helping you if you if you do these steps. What worked for me is you need to throw away all of your cookies every time you visit their website, and after a time, when you log in every time. The Amazon says, well, you've logged in too many times. So they lock you out of your account. And then you start to realize, well, I started to realize I'm way too often on the Amazon site. And I buy way too much stuff on Amazon. And not only does Amazon lock you out of your Amazon shopping account, they also lock you out of your Goodreads account. Well, this really, really pissed me off. I can tell you. This really. I said, okay, fine, I'm done. I'm really done with you. I'm going to Storygraph. And this was, once I've made this decision, it was a really a logical step. And there are more bookshops out there. And when you go check other sites who sell books, well, you realize Amazon isn't the cheapest option anymore. Not always, sometimes, but there are other competitors out there that give good value for money. How many times have you bought a book from Amazon and got sent a cheap, badly designed, really annoyingly badly designed print-on-demand copy? How many times? Well, for me, it was too much anyway. So just take that step and try it out for yourself. Just chuck away all of your cookies every time you visited Amazon. And now I'm ranting anyway. Let's talk about the Kindle. I have the Kindle Oasis, which I always love, but I was so annoyed and pissed off at Amazon that I always used my Kindle to read in bed. I quit reading on my Kindle in bed, and guess what? My sleep quality improved immensely. So yes, reading on an e-reader, well, they say it's better than reading on your phone or a tablet or whatever. This could be, but for me, the best thing is not to read in bed. and get up more early. Well, sleep quality improved anyway. I won't be chucking, I will still be reading on my Kindle app. I have a big non-Amazon e-reader. I'm not taking it with me everywhere because it is too big. But I have my Kindle app on it because, well, I'm not stupid. I'm not chucking away I've counted, the 91 ebooks I bought on Amazon. And if I read 10%, well, then that's a lot. So I'm not throwing away the money on the ebook. I'm not chucking the ebooks, but yeah, I'm reading them on my Kindle app, on my other e-reader, or if I want to read on my commute or when I'm waiting for someone, I can read on the Kindle app on my phone. It's not ideal, but it's okay for a short period of time anyway. What does this all have to do with stunting in the cinema? Well, not really, well, not very much. but what I want to say is, if you really look to yourself, look inside yourself, and think what you want. Like the early, well, it was a necessity of the early stunt people in the silent film era. Health and safety regulations were a must. Well, not for film production companies, but they did get good health and safety regulations in the film industry in the end. So what we can take away from stunting in the film industry is, with a little effort and a little looking to ourselves, into ourselves, and deciding, what do we really want? What do I really want? What do you really want? And just behaving like it, not let big companies dictate what we should buy and from whom we should buy. So yeah, I think that's for me it was really difficult. It took long for me to realize and to really look into myself and find out what do I really want. And that's one of the reasons I didn't finish stunting in the film industry, because I thought, well, why finish it if I'm not really enjoying it? Yes, there are interesting bits in it, but it was too detailed for me. So I chose not to read any further because I'd like to spend my time in a more fun way, more fun way. I can read other stuff, so I read only half of Stunting in the cinema. So that's something I had to decide for myself, because not long ago I had this feeling that to make a review of a book, I needed to finish it and read it cover to cover. So I'm at a level where I think I need to decide what I think is fun, and why read a book which you don't enjoy. It is well written. Never. I don't want to say it's badly written. It was just, well, too detailed. Well, this was a little bit of an all over the place video. Hope you enjoyed it. Nonetheless, thanks for watching.